the origins of the virus are suddenly getting national interest, and it matters. And Anthony Fauci, it's not Anthony Fauci against Trump. It's not anything like that. Anthony Fauci made his name not by reading and write, because he wasn't. They said, well, they trusted him. He's got all this experience. They trusted him. They liked his demeanor. Brad Pitt salutes him. I guess played him, and he got a bobblehead doll, and he's on the cover of every magazine wearing sunglasses by a pool. I still don't get it, but I'll try to understand it. Part of it was he was saying everything he knew. Even if he wasn't right, he was being honest. I don't think you can say he's being honest anymore. First, he told us, don't wear a mask. And then when he said you have to wear a mask, he said, I only told you not to wear a mask because we didn't have enough. Well, that's not true. Because it's not up to you to tell us we didn't have enough. Tell us what it needs to be. Because at the same time, the Surgeon General was telling us how to make a mask out of a bandana. I never bought that. So here is what Dr. Scott Gottlieb said he found out. He said on Face the Nation yesterday about Anthony Fauci, who said this came from animals. He told us where, the wet market. He got credited by the Wuhan virus representative, Peter Daszak, for putting down those rumors that this came from a lab leak. Cut 5.
I was told at that time, back in the spring, that Dr. Fauci had gone over to a meeting of world health leaders in Europe around the World Health Assembly and actually briefed them on the information that they were looking at, that this could have been a potential lab leak, that this strain looked unusual. So those discussions were going on, and I was told that by a very senior official in the Trump administration. I've reconfirmed that conversation. That happened, at the time, contemporaneously with that meeting over a year ago. So I think early on when they looked at the strain, they had suspicions. And in a closer analysis, and it takes time to do that analysis, dispelled some of those suspicions.
So he had doubts, but he never told us that. Mark Zuckerberg is one of the many people on his tranches of emails that are now public thanks to freedom of information requests from BuzzFeed and other outlets. And I think more are coming. Judicial Watch is another. So if that information gets out, and he's talking to Mark Zuckerberg, is that related to the fact that people like Tom Cotton and others, maybe you, are speculating about the Wuhan virus being intentional or unintentional, coming from the Chinese lab, and they didn't tell us the nature of this virus, how serious it was, and how it potentially could be stopped? And because we didn't know the nature of the virus, we couldn't come up with a test? The CDC was prepared for the wrong virus. 600,000 Americans are now dead. I agree with President Trump on Saturday. China, you owe us about $10 trillion, as well as personal anguish for all those who've lost loved ones, whether it's related or co-related to what happened here in our country and around the world. We're doing better than almost any other country outside Israel right now because we had to come up with a vaccine better than yours. You're great at making the terrible viruses, China, and we're great at stopping them. But Condoleezza Rice says, listen, I don't get it. This is China's MO. Cut 11.
I think there were even those who said that President Trump's early decisions about border closures and travel restrictions were xenophobic or not appropriate. Turns out they were incredibly appropriate. But yes, maybe there was a little bit too much of trusting of the Chinese. I'm going to give people a break, too, during this time. When you're in the middle of one of these unfolding crises, you don't really know what's going on. But I would, given what we experienced with SARS, and oh, by the way, with avian flu as well in the early 2000s, I don't think it was worth trusting that the Chinese were being transparent about what was going on there.
So why was everyone so determined to not blame the Chinese? And then if you bring that up, you're being xenophobic, or you're perpetuating hate crimes in America. I don't know, these psychos that are hitting Asian people because they're Asian and this coronavirus. You know what I call Chinese Americans? Americans. And that's what most Americans do. And if something was to happen with Italy in World War II, and if something was to happen with Iranians, as we saw with the hostage crisis in the 70s, sometimes, sadly, we take it out on whatever the ethnic group is in our country. But that's not any one person's fault. It's frustration. It goes back to FDR rounding up the Japanese for internment. But that backed off all criticism on China, which they loved. And I'm sure they're pressing the levers because they're so infiltrated and intertwined in our public relations, our marketing, our science, our schools, our curriculum. I wouldn't doubt they're pushing the levers to make sure there wasn't additional pressure on them. But understand, if we don't pressure China, no one will. Australia tried. They were left alone and isolated. They got huge tariffs in the middle of a pandemic on their wine and other products that they exported through the region. So they paid a price for that, and the statement they put out was very vanilla. So I ask you this. Keep in mind, this is not saying Anthony Fauci against Donald Trump. This is, why is this guy so lauded? What exactly did he do? And why wasn't he telling us everything? We're all adults here. We're certainly paying the price. We should never be listening to scientists who tell us to shut down our economy. They should be one of the voices, but not the only voice. Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.